and the Quantum Arcturian Societal Report, The Symphony of Coherence. Quantum Opening. Human society breathes like a constellation made of memory, breath, and decision. The collective field hums with latent music, calling every heart to tune itself to a gentler, truer note. Reality responds to coherence the way a seashell responds to the tide. Each thought becomes a shoreline, each gesture becomes a current, and each promise becomes a lighthouse. The update is active in the fabric of the day. The shift no longer announces itself with sirens. The shift moves like dawn through the bones of time. Section 1. Deep View. Archetypal Cartography of a Planet in Renewal. The social body resembles a great river that remembers its ocean. On the lower banks, echoes of scarcity and exile still repeat as if engraved into ancestral stone. On the luminous banks, dignity rises like a quiet mountain, firm and soft at once. This double landscape forms an initiatory threshold rather than a battlefield. At the gate stands the archetype of the weaver, holding a lantern woven from patience, clarity, and kindness in action. The collective journey unfolds as a pilgrimage from noise to nuance. Streams of polarized narrative crash, and yet under the surface a clear current persists. When one person orders their inner weather, a cluster of relationships begins to breathe differently. When a group practices the art of a well-placed pause, a neighborhood rewrites its nervous system. When a community speaks truth with tenderness, institutions shed old husks without violence. The shadow of the time carries a library of unprocessed energies. The task is not eradication, the task is literacy. The symptom stops shouting when the message is read, digested, and honored. The current era invites a migration from spectacle to essence. Virality loses power before vitality. Performative outrage grows brittle, while craftsmanship of presence grows golden. The new prestige belongs to those who practice integrity as a daily craft. The mature society is not the one without conflict. The mature society is the one in which conflict becomes compost, feeding gardens of deeper understanding. Archetypes in play. The weaver anchors connection beyond liking or agreement, and stitches bridges between difference and destiny. The gardener cares for cycles, measures success by health rather than speed, and prunes with compassion. The navigator orients the group toward long horizons and dignifies limits as sacred architecture rather than punishment. The hearthkeeper restores belonging through meals, humor, song, and simple rituals that make life round again. Nascente. Section 2. Scientific and Psychological Foundations. Transpersonal psychology frames the social organism as a field of consciousness braided through many bodies, expanded states accessed by breathwork, contemplative rhythm, dance, or art reveal a felt continuity between the personal and the planetary. Purpose stops fleeing into abstraction. Purpose incarnates as better language, cleaner agreements, and a subtler listening that changes outcomes without fanfare. Humanistic psychology adds the axle of authenticity and unconditional positive regard. Systems flourish when the person is not a unit to be optimized, but a being to be understood. Agency increases when values are named and embodied. Acceptance becomes fertile soil rather than resignation. From that soil, responsibility grows like a healthy tree, not as a burden, but as a privilege. Neuroscience clarifies that the collective mind is trainable. Repeated attention patterns become highways of either collaboration or defensive fragmentation. Narratives that prime chronic alarm recruit subcortical loops and drain executive capacity. Narratives that prime curiosity and shared efficacy restore prefrontal integration and widen windows of tolerance. Gratitude practices synchronize heart-brain rhythms across groups. Creativity performed together works like a social vagal tonic. Symbolic yet practical illustrations. A classroom that opens with 60 seconds of breath coherence reduces disciplinary noise and increases retention of nuance. A town meeting that codifies the rule of the pause before response generates fewer reactive spirals and more elegant compromises. A workplace that measures success through the trinity of usefulness, beauty, and well-being cultivates reputational capital that compounds. Section 3. Biodecoding the social body. The social body speaks through somatic metaphors. Polarization mirrors systemic inflammation. Cynicism mirrors chronic fatigue of meaning. Rumor storms mirror jittery sympathetic overdrive. Numb scrollers mirror dissociation as a survival habit. The skin of the world, our boundaries, becomes irritated when society cannot pronounce a sacred yes or a sacred no. The planetary back aches when the culture drags legacy burdens without renegotiating the contract. Emotion thought symptom continuums, emotion tonta, fear of lack, fuels rigid budgeting of empathy and competitive hoarding of attention. Symptom manifests as joyless productivity and difficulty celebrating others. Inherited guilt for disobedience. Births. Sabotage of emergent leadership. Symptom manifests as leaders who burn bright and then burn out. Ancient sorrow about lost community. Curdles into isolation performed on glowing rectangles. Symptom manifests as many connections with little presence. Paths of release. Name the collective emotion in safe containers. Naming reduces dominance and frees fresh response options. Reframe the story from melodrama to epic craftsmanship. Each person becomes a creative function, not a role locked by family myth. Install microsomatic practices. Triangular breathing in public spaces, standing stretches in classrooms, listening walks in teams. Reconcile lineages. Map the loves and fears of families, trades, and neighborhoods. When memory is honored, symptoms reveal instructions rather than punishments. Organ diagnostics for the times. Lungs signal the need for shared breath, shared rhythm, singing and walks that turn talk into embodied cadence. Liveros asks for clear boundaries regarding digital toxins and outrage addictions. Heart in the requests rituals of gratitude, repair, and recognition that reset the social pulse. Gatin requires truth in small doses delivered with kindness until trust digests complexity without cramps. Yi Sajans. Section 4. Quantum NLP Tools for Collective Repatterning. Quantum NLP braids language, sensation, gesture, and field awareness. Reprogramming the collective does not require spectacle. It requires elegant micro-interventions applied with constancy and beauty. Protocol A. Community Coherence Anchor 1. Choose a discrete common gesture, such as gently pressing thumb and index finger on the dominant hand. 2. Evoke a memory of communal plenitude, like a shared meal, a mutual aid victory, or a street cleansed by collaborative care. 3. Intensify sensory detail, adding sound, temperature, scent, texture, and color. 4. Hold the gesture and whisper inside a crystalline phrase. Example: soft unity. 5. Repeat for 7 days during short gatherings. Trigger the anchor before complex decisions. Taroteker. Protocol B. Narrative Reframe Engine 1. Detect the dominant map that breeds noise. Example: everything is permanent crisis. 2. Draft an alternate map that includes facts without melodrama. Example: the system is updating and I stabilize through clean craft. 3. Install the reframe into daily communications and closing rituals. 4. Record 3 small evidences per day that confirm the new map. The Yamar. Protocol C. Cultural timeline alignment. 1. Sense a timeline running through the body, past at the spine, future before the heart. 2. Stand present with both feet parallel. 3rd. Place a past event 2 steps behind. Exhale long. Name the learning. 4. Place a concrete, noble future 2 steps forward. Inhale slowly. See it precise and kind. 5. Return to the present and seal with the anchor from Protocol A. Protocol D. Somatic language for meetings 1. Establish the rule of 3 breaths before any reply. 2. Use belonging phrases that reduce defensive posture. Example: I belong here and I care for my impact. 3. Share a common metaphor for the project. Example: we are a garden and every decision is water. 4. Close with a micro ritual of gratitude and clear next actions. Protocol E. Field tuning for digital spaces 1. Open threads with a coherent image or a brief breath cue rather than immediate argument. 2. Replace performative certainty with crafted clarity and clean limits. 3. Seed posts with "to learn share" loops that invite agency rather than dependence. 4. Practice weekly detox from doom scrolling and celebrate the regained attention as reclaimed land. Yilalala. Quantum visualization, citywide light lattice. Picture a dome of gentle light over the city. Each school, market, studio, clinic, and home appears as a node. With every inhale, lines connect. With every exhale, the network pulses. Hold three intentions only: kind clarity, dignified limits, mutual uplift. Sustain for 9 minutes. Close with water and a small act of earthly care. Section 5: Spiritual Perspective and Christ Consciousness. Christ consciousness arrives as a harmonic of unity that honors difference rather than eliminating it. Love without condition does not erase frontier. Love without condition creates frontier with elegance. Where there is love, geometry appears. Where geometry appears, energy circulates without stagnation. Compassion in motion authorizes a full yes when life opens and a clean no when life protects. The sacred does not require spectacle. The sacred prefers precision. Teachings of unity translate into daily choreography. See the face of the divine in strangers. Bless shared bread. Repair the repairable with patience and release what no longer carries life. Spirituality embodied refuses to flee systems. It transforms them from within through a slow, joyful efficacy. A social contract grounded in radical kindness does not demand heavy solemnity. It rests on congruence. When word, gesture, and consequence align, fields reorder. The path widens as spaces of presence multiply. Laughter cures as much as doctrine. Listening builds bridges stronger than slogans. Prayer becomes logistics. Service removes the costume of sacrifice and wears the clothing of competent joy. The planet sings through millions of simple households that honor clarity, humor, craft, and care. Toronto, Cyrus. Section 6: Integrative Ritual, the Daily Braid of Light. Total duration suggested 18 to 24 minutes. 1. Simple altar ignition. Place a candle, a glass of water, and a symbol of community. Light the candle with steady breath. Name a quality to cultivate today, such as clarity, tenderness, disciplined joy, or shared prosperity. 2. 3. Bridge breath. 3 minutes. Inhale light from earth to pelvis. Exhale softening the jaw. Inhale light to the heart. Exhale releasing the shoulders. Inhale light to the brow. Exhale relaxing the tongue. Keep the spine as a gentle antenna. 3. Weaver Mudra. Touch thumb and index finger of both hands and rest them at the chest. Repeat internally. I order my energy and offer coherence to the social weave. Hold 1 minute. 4. Purpose reading. Write a paragraph of social purpose and read it aloud. Adjust weekly. Allow voice to calibrate field geometry. 5. City lattice visualization. 9 breaths connecting luminous nodes. See streets and homes light up in patterns of respect, clean abundance, and collaboration. 6. Water seal. Sip from the glass and let hydration bless voice and gesture. Extinguish the candle with grateful attention. That devolas. Domains of practice and renewal. Community and bonds. Normalize the unconscious yes and the sacred no. Begin gatherings with a 1-minute silence and a shared anchor gesture. Institute care as policy, care of time, rhythms, mistakes, boundaries, and repair. Education and culture. Integrate ritual art and science into living pedagogy. Replace pressure with presence and curiosity as assessment. Evaluate by project quality, collaborative muscle, and capacity for nuanced silence. Work and economy. Honor prices and energy without guilt. Put values, scope, and timelines in writing. Measure success through usefulness, beauty, and well-being, not velocity alone. Health and care. Teach emotional literacy as a basic public hygiene. Tie diagnosis to meaning and agency. Address loneliness through networks of presence rather than pills alone. Ecology and territory. Practice small liturgies of gratitude with land and water. Transform waste into lesson and craft. Build an economy that privileges repair, reuse, and re-enchantment. Ilonadeske's frequency map of the present. Ascending frequencies. Quiet coherence. Consecrated word. Creative cooperation. Relational prosperity. Dissolving frequencies. Sacrifice as performance. Scarcity competition. Chronic melodrama. Rigid ideologies without tenderness. Frequencies to steward. Sacred humor. Competent joy. Soft discipline. Embodied gratitude. the Nernondalios, Micropolitics of the Soul, Action Kits. Kit 1, High Hygiene Communication. Prefer short, full sentences. Use names with care and respect. Drop unnecessary justifications. Close with explicit agreements and realistic dates. Kit 2, Clarity Economy. Balance give and receive. Put prices, boundaries, and delivery conditions on paper. Reserve compassionate contingency. Celebrate clean abundance without ostentation. Kit 3, Technology with Conscience. Treat feeds as gardens rather than battlegrounds. Maintain periodic information fasts. Offer content that increases agency and literacy. Design platforms with the ethics of care and consent. Kit 4, Repair Culture, Protocol. Normalize apology as craft, not humiliation. Name the impact, not the intent. Offer a concrete act of repair. Re-enter with a smaller promise and a higher quality of presence. Daran Laras, Lineage Healing and Collective Memory. Act 1, Origin Honor. Write the names of lineages and list their gifts. Recognize the limits learned along the way. Bless without carrying. Act 2, Weight Transfer. Visualize an old fiber basket. Place burdens that belong to history inside. Close the basket with a ribbon of light. Offer it to the river of time. Act 3, New Covenant. Draft a short paragraph, renewing contract with life. Breathe it into the body with 3 long exhales and sign with a simple act of service. Paradas, system reframes, practical templates. Home. Shift from rigid roles to fluid functions. Install monthly affection assemblies for logistics and gratitude. Adopt a domestic decree. This house is a station of rest and creativity. Teams and projects. Trade control for clarity. Replace urgency with explicit priorities. Outlaw subtle cruelty and institutionalize brave tenderness. Neighborhoods and communities. Create calendars of celebration and silence. Rotate delegations so the few do not carry the many. Build libraries of practices that circulate between districts. Field affirmations. I'm soft coherence in motion. I'm clean speech that builds bridges. I'm relational prosperity that honors fair exchange. I'm disciplined tenderness that repairs and strengthens. I'm a living network of creative collaboration. Walk while repeating these lines until the body finds the tempo that feels like home. Maredia, operational appendix, metrics for subtle progress. Breath metric, average number of collective breaths before a reply in core meetings. Repair metric, percentage of conflicts that end with concrete acts of restitution. Presence metric, minutes of non-phone communal conversation per day. Craft metric, ratio of promises kept to promises made. Joy metric, frequency of shared spontaneous laughter without sarcasm. Record lightly. Celebrate small upticks without obsession. Let numbers serve presence rather than replace it. Boundaries as sacred architecture. Boundaries protect beauty the way riverbanks shape a current. The sacred no grants depth to the sacred yes. Limits are not fences against life. Limits are the geometry that lets life flow without erosion. A boundary stated with kindness becomes a blessing. A boundary enforced with consistency becomes trust. The new prestige is clarity without cruelty. 3 boundary practices. Pre-agreement clarity. State scope, price, time, and values before the work begins. Kind refusal. When the answer is no, deliver it early and without poison. Consecrated openings. When the answer is yes, open with ritual attention and a first small delivery of excellence. Naliralis, ancestral and star wisdom integration. Arcturian frequencies encourage precise kindness and lucid architecture of thought. Pleiadian currents amplify playful creativity and community joy. Andromedan intelligence brings long arc navigation and systemic elegance. Seraphic resonance ignites devotion that does not collapse into fanaticism. Christic light grounds all of the above into embodied service. The orchestra functions when every section listens. Daily star-coded microacts. Craft one sentence of truth that is both simple and nourishing. Offer one gesture of repair where the field feels thin. Complete one small task with exquisite quality and no witnesses. Share one resource that multiplies agency in others. Tarpuasaritas, 12-day collective coherence sprint. Day 1, ground in breath and purpose paragraph. Day 2, clean one boundary and communicate it with tenderness. Day 3, offer one repair for an old friction. Day 4, plant a seed of beauty in a shared space. Day 5, host a 3-breath meeting and document the difference. Day 6, detox 1 hour from doom inputs and replace with craft. Day 7, cook and share a small meal without performance. Day 8, write and mail one gratitude letter. Day 9, teach a child or elder a simple coherence practice. Day 10, map a lineage gift and a lineage limit and honor both. Day 11, create a micro ritual for opening and closing daily work. Day 12, celebrate quietly and seal the sprint with water and song. Repeat the cycle, tuning it to local needs until coherence becomes culture and not event. Darasire, Crisis Alchemy, a pocket manual. When storms rise, apply. 3 C's. Center, clarify, commit. Center, through breath, anchor gesture, and posture. Clarify the smallest true next action. Commit to one honest delivery within the hour. Finish with a message that contains reality, responsibility, and respect. Mulla, leadership as stewardship. Steward leaders harvest silence and distribute clarity. They keep promises small and quality high. They practice the art of the pause, the science of a clear contract, and the spirituality of consistent kindness. Authority ceases to be domination and becomes gravitational trust. The title matters less than the frequency of presence. 5 vows of stewardship. Promise less, deliver more. Speak slowly when stakes rise. Keep boundaries clean and transparent. Celebrate others without bargaining. Leave every room lighter than you found it. Logistics of love. Love becomes logisticianship when it shows up on time, pays fairly, communicates delays early, and cleans up after itself. The highest mysticism becomes visible as a well-packed bag, a prepared agenda, a repaired chair, a joyful invoice, and a thank you note written by an unhurried hand. Heaven descends into habit. Menu closing integration, master phrase, 24-hour challenge, activation code. Master phrase. Order inside breeds freedom outside and freedom outside sustains order inside. 24-hour quantum challenge. Deliver one act of precise kindness that carries real cost and clean joy. Name it in your journal. Close the day by blessing the next person who will touch your work. Activation code. Repeat aloud 3 times, breathing down to the navel on each line. Light in breath, clarity in word, kindness in action. Seal with the weaver mudra and sip water in gratitude. Final benediction. The social symphony already plays beneath the surface noise. Every coherent breath turns the volume up. Every honest boundary returns rhythm to the drum. Every clean promise becomes a bell that calls others home. The path is not distant. The path is the choreography of today performed with lucid tenderness and devoted craft. Con amor, under you.